Hello, hello. Welcome to Live with Fifi and Freddy, Season 13, Episode 17. Felicia seems to be having some technical difficulties. She's freezing and her connection doesn't seem to be great. I don't know
I
why. It's
hates me. I've come to realize that over the years we've done these wonderful shows, and we even take the time to make sure that we have information to give, uh, somewhat look decent to be here, and the internet does not like me at all.
I think you need to move your modem like into your drag room so you can just hardwire
I
to it.
can't. There's no outlet in here, and my Wi-Fi is in the room, not next to me, but one room
Well,
away.
time to start shutting off everybody else's devices.
Well, it's usually what happens, but, um, welcome everyone. I'm here in bits and pieces. Maybe I'll be here in RGB next week, because that's the standard. I think that has to be set. Because I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. I have thought of getting the long extended wire all the way over here, but we'll see. Um, I'm Felicia Fifi Minor. For the time being, I'm here. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Ah!
And now tell me the
And
character that this is, because
okay,
I
so
don't know.
I full disclosure, I have not actually seen the show or played the game that this character is from, but
Oh,
um, it's from Arcane League of Legends. His name is Heimerdinger,
oh,
and uh Ben Havoc and Justin Sider have told me a few times now that I need to like try him, and I'm like, I don't have the stuff, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna wing it with what I got. Um, what you can't see, unfortunately, because of the wig, is that I've actually like drawn on his big bushy eyebrows and like the thing. I'll have to take a picture of without the wig so you can see the actual detail, which is being covered by the wig. But I mean, for my first attempt, not being familiar with the character or the show, and not having like
uh-huh.
all the things that I would want to have for it, I don't think I did too badly. I think I did a fairly passable job, all considering, So it could be
Well,
worse.
Freddie Prince Charming, that is. Oh, wow.
So yeah, my arcane, my League of Legends inspired cosplay this evening. You're welcome.
Good. Huh. I learn something new every day. And so did you, obviously, because this
I
is
did. I had to. I literally. I had to have a picture up so I could reference it when I was like drawing the stuff on and things, and you know, shading and whatnot. I'm like, what's the best way to do this? So
uh
it's fine. It's fine. Now that I've done it,
well, my
I need
face
to watch the show.
my face tonight is inspired by me scrolling through Pinterest
Oh,
and thinking,
ooh, your connection tonight is not good. You keep cutting out. This is gonna be
"Uh-oh,
fun. It's gonna be
uh-oh."
super fun. You keep
Let
cutting
me go check
out. You're
something.
like,
Let me go check something. I'll be right back.
okay, you go check something. I will keep
Talk
going.
about your
So
weekend.
today, all right. So today we've got a packed show. We've got stuff, some of the things that we're going to be talking about. It's a little bit of like sex history because, talking about some of the latest that's happening up in Washington and more. So for the folks that are watching at home, if you're chatting with us, here's a question for you. Throw it in the chat. What's a hard boundary or non-negotiable for you when it comes to like intimacy, whether it's sex or cuddling or even just physical touch? Like, what is a hard no thank you kind of thing? Um, a little bit of housekeeping before we get into the weekend and things that have been going on. If you want the VIP treatment, you can get exclusive content on our Patreon. Oh, where is our Patreon? There you go. It is patreon.com/live with Fifi and Freddy. We do behind the scenes, get ready videos, all sorts of fine things. And if you join the $5 or up, then you get some fun merch. We get stickers. If you join the Deeper Plunge or the G Spot, then you get a sticker, a mug, a t-shirt, tote bag, and Patreon sends all that stuff out, so you don't have to wait for it coming from us. So within the first year that gets sent out, which is awesome. We would like to thank our current patrons: Brandon, Cassandra, Chris and Michelle, D, Drake Jensen and Michael, Casey Starr, Carrie and Corey, Joan, Laura, Leanne, Madam Askew and the Grand Arbiter, Nicole, Patricia Mason, Shannon, and William. And of course, a huge shout out to Wigs of a Kind for supporting us this season and continuing to support us. This is not a Wigs of a Kind wig. Trust me, this is not a Wigs of a Kind wig. Normally when I do wear a wig, most of the time it will be a Wigs of a Kind wig. I believe Felicia is wearing a Wigs of a Kind wig this evening. So her stuff is good. It is legit. And I just actually shared a bunch of her wigs that were ready to go. So, go get some hair. If you would like to, tip us, sponsor us, whatever, you can do that at paypal.me/let's have a Fifi. And, if you want to support us in other ways, drop us a message. We can always figure something out. All right, so my week. So last week we didn't. We had some. We both of us actually had stuff going on, so it was just easier to be like, all right, we'll just take the week off. I did Pride Day at the Ren Fair on the 16th. That's always so much fun. And a whole gaggle of us were there. We all dressed up in our best like fairy outfits and went and we were gay and things and judged the costume contest. And myself, Ben Havoc, Justin Sider, and Dominic Von Strap got to go hang out at the joust, the midday joust. That was always fun. Oh, you're back. Are you ready? Is it better? We hope.
We'll see.
We'll see. So my thing last Wednesday is I went to dinner. My partner and I went to dinner with some friends that are actually leaving. They're moving out of state. And it was one of those things where,
Oh,
oh God, like we're going to have to, when it comes to like scheduling and stuff, we're like, oh Jesus, all right, we have to figure it out. It's like, you know what? If Wednesday is the only day you can do it, then Wednesday it is, because
for sure.
right, sometimes you just got to do it. So we did that. I've basically just been working on like cosplay and like con stuff because I'm so far behind. It's not even funny. We have Wow Wow West Con
Like
coming up.
more behind than you were last year?
Oh, for sure. I don't even want to talk about how far behind I am with Wow Wow West Con stuff right now. Um,
Oh,
So, I did make 2 gallons of fresh lemonade with a blackberry ginger simple syrup, because our lemon tree is insane. Anybody that's ever seen my lemon tree, like my lemon tree
mhm.
is, I've never seen a tree produce so many lemons that are like the size of grapefruit and that aren't all like pith and are juicy and like, yeah, it's insane. We
Is that
actually
what
had
kids
people
would
come
say is
over and
bonkers?
it's insane.
Mhm.
Like we've actually had we had people come over because I was like, please come get some lemons because we have to prune the tree to be able to get a pig. It's a thing, but I was like, please come over and uh, get some lemons. And we had people come over and fill bags with lemons. I filled a giant, those giant Savers bags, like they're big. They're like the size of like an IKEA bag. Yeah, it was
Mhm.
basically full,
Mhm.
and there are still. I don't even want to talk about how many lemons are still left on that tree. Like it is ridiculous. It's insane. And then
Oh, so
uh
you had a good
tonight,
season.
so next weekend, not this coming weekend, but next weekend, um a bunch of us are going to the Ren Fair. Um we're going, the kids are coming with us, and our son's girlfriend, we're like, hey, do you want to dress up, because we can dress you up, because we have stuff. And she was like, yeah, no, totally. So she was over tonight and going through like all the Ren Fair stuff and playing dress up. And like, I love seeing people that have never really dressed up like that before, and then all of a sudden they start putting the things on, and they start putting the layers, and then like the outfit starts coming together, and they just look so excited because they get to do this thing that they've never done before. And it's gonna be super fun. And we're even making our son dress up too. So he's gonna be dressing up. His girlfriend is dressing up for the first time. Um, so the kids will we're all gonna force them to dress up because we're the fun parents. Yeah.
Hmm.
But that's basically what's been going on in my house. Nothing crazy. Just
Oh,
con stuff and being behind and lemonade. I'll be drinking lemonade for the rest of my life, basically.
is a very big.
It is a very big mason jar, but it is delightful lemonade, let me tell you. Because I make my simple syrup from scratch
What is that?
and it's
36
good.
gallons?
Just about.
Goodness gracious.
I know. I know.
um, so can you hear me? Can you see me? Am I frozen? Am
No,
I
you're good for
there?
now.
I'm talking.
You make no guarantee that, it'll keep doing what it's doing, but
Before my time runs out, I feel like I'm on a collect call and I need to talk very fast and tell you all the information. Had a
right
baby, it's a
before it
boy.
gets
Um, so um, last week, uh, you had your thing, I had my thing, a certified workaholic, because my thing was work related. And then Friday night I worked, and then Saturday, Sunday night I worked. So there's that. Um, but during that time on Saturday, I got to that was run by Phoenix Fashion Week, which was the model fest, which is interesting.
Oh, that's
Uh,
fun.
it's always interesting. It's always interesting to see your worlds collide.
Mm,
Uh, point in case, there were some people from the drag world, Phoenix Fashion Week, that I was like, "Oh, hey." And they were like, "Oh, I didn't know you worked here." And I was like, I don't like my worlds colliding, but it's okay." Um,
mm.
so, uh, that was pretty good. Luckily, it was people I enjoy. It wasn't like people that,
Oh, that's
are problematic or what have you, but,
mm,
so that was good. Um, and then the thing of multitasking is sometimes I usually can do it, and sometimes I cannot. Sometimes it's a little
mm.
bit on paper, it looks really good. Like I gave myself enough time, I gave myself enough space. So there was a birthday party that Lily was going to, and I stayed there with her because the baby was napping here. And so Scott stayed here. And so, and before anybody says Scott should have stayed, is because I knew the mom. And so, it's less awkward. Um, anyhow, Lily didn't even care that I was there. She was just fine and dandy. So I just sat around talking to adults. Um, and then another piece of my worlds collided and it was weird. But to say that, I had a show, Magic, the same
Mm.
day. And I thought, okay, I'll get home at 4:30 and I'll be ready to go by 6 and or
I could have
6:30.
told you that was never gonna fucking happen.
Yeah. So, um, as the world turns, um, things are always chaotic here because and I did not get ready in time and I was running. Yay, it disconnected. Yay, this is fun for me.
Uh,
Am I back?
Sort of.
So I get back. Anyway, so I was running late, and usually, um, the Uber drivers don't drive so slow. Um, Drove very slow, and let me tell you, it was a very interesting ride because he tells me that he can't go 5 miles over the speed limit. Uh, um, and I'm like, well, I've been in Ubers where they like I didn't tell them that I was running late or that I needed to be anywhere at a certain time, but they were putting their foot down to the ground. So he's driving really slow, and he begins to tell me that he is like he supports gay people. This is how this starts. He goes, "I support gay people, and I can't believe Trump is doing this, all these things to LGBTQ plus people." And he was telling me this, and and then he starts telling me that he has friends that are gay, and that he is an accountant, and then he says he does massage on the side. I'm like, okay, that's fine. No, Ken tells me that he did them at uh, he was doing accounting for a massage place that you know I don't need to tell you, um, but they had like 10 locations
Hmm.
or something, and I was like, oh, so they're legit. Yeah. But the yeah came out questionable, and then so he begins to tell me that he has different friends that he gives massages to for free,
Hmm.
and I'm huh? And he's like talking about how like and like in the corporate world you don't come out. Okay. And so he's like telling me this, and then going in and out of conversation, he goes, I would really love to see a drag show. And I'm like, well, you can come to one. I'm in one. Like, if you just hurry up, I definitely will be there on time. Um, but he doesn't. He proceeds to tell me about how he helped a friend with arthritis. He helped this, that, and that him and his friend kept a secret for all these years. And I'm like, what is going on? And so by the time I get to the club, I think that I am the most uncomfortable that I have. He gets out of the car and he's like, I'm going to go outside and see you. And I'm thinking, please don't. Just go about your business. Turns out he didn't come inside. But, um, but when he got out of the car, he didn't even help me like with my bags. He just kind of stood there. And I'm not sure if you ever seen me during an uncomfortable situation. Just know that if I just up and walk away and don't say anything, that's a good sign for you. Um, because it could be worse. So,
So
but I
weird.
was like, oh my god, this is okay.
Well,
So, um, confessions of the DL, the down low Uber driver, for
well,
sure.
I mean, the next
It
time that
wasn't
you
me
think you're gonna get
confessing
home and give
anything.
yourself,
I was
an
like,
hour and a half to
oh,
get
this is
ready,
weird.
make sure you check with me because I'll tell
But
you right off the bat,
speaking
that's
of
not gonna happen.
massages and things, let's talk about the history of sex,
You are lagging like
shall we?
crazy. You are girl, you are lagging like crazy. It's fine. So, all right. So tonight for my tip, well, Felicia is continuing to have technical difficulties because God knows why at this point. Um, I wanted to talk a little bit about like the sort of the history, not the history of sex, because hello, but if you talk to like right wingers, like they act like there was no such thing as sex, no such thing as kink or trans folks or whatever until like 2020. And then all of a sudden, bam, pornography was born and it corrupted the entire world. Look, I hate to break it to y'all, but sex has been around since at least the 1970s, maybe the 1960s. Definitely no earlier than that, though. Definitely no earlier than that. Humans just stayed home and reproduced by just splitting into two and just sort of, dividing, reproducing that way. There definitely wasn't any gay sex. There was no kink or trans people. Gay sex didn't exist until like 1986. So, you know, okay, obviously I'm kidding. Uh, None of the above is even remotely new. Socrates and Aristotle were bisexual. Uh, like the anybody that acts like any of these things is like new to this country, new to anything. Like obviously you know nothing about history and have had your head buried in the sand your entire damn life. So because of that, I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the sort of historical things to do with sex and to show you that these things are not new. So, Plato and other ancient Greek writers talked about, the relationships between men. It was common. It was sexuality, when you're talking about sexuality in ancient Greece, wasn't really thought about in terms of gender. It was actually thought about more in terms of penetrator and the person being penetrated, dominance and submission. And most common were the relationships between older men and adolescent boys. Now, I know that sounds really gross and it's definitely not something I would recommend, but I do want to note that in ancient Greece, boys were considered boys until they could grow a full beard. So we're talking even 19, 20, 21, early 20s. They're still considered boys if they weren't able to grow a full beard. And when I say older men, yes, sometimes they were considerably older, but a lot of times they were my age-ish. Again, not something that I would be like, yes, go out and do this, because but it's it's still not new. This type of relationship was called pederasty, and often these relationships weren't even sexual. They were more of sort of a mentor mentee kind of thing. A lot of times the older men would be sort of teaching the younger men about politics, about working, about ethics, about things like that. So it wasn't always sexual. Sometimes it was, oftentimes it was, but it wasn't always. But it was, the way that it was looked at was more, so it was sort of a dominance and submissiveness. And that's how they looked at basically all sexual relationships. Older men were seen as dominant, younger men and women were seen as submissive because they were the ones that would be penetrative. They were the ones that were more feminine, blah, 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 blah. It's just the way it was. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm saying it's the way it was. So don't think I'm, being like, yay. No. Uh, the word pornography has roots in ancient Greek. It comes from the word that meant the writings of prostitutes, because you'd have these sex workers that would write about their exploits, that would write about their clients, all of these things. That's where the word pornography comes from, because these were things that would happen. Sex toys have been around for literally thousands of years. Dildos were not a new invention. They're not. They've been around forever. I believe the oldest dildo that has been discovered so far was about 28,000 years old, and it was made of siltstone. I really hope that it was smooth, because and we've talked about sex toys of different materials and things, and I am not opposed to something that is made out of because there are dildos and things that are made out of different materials. You have some that are made out of quartz even and different things. So I'm not opposed to that. Just make sure it's, smoothed and polished because otherwise, ouch a lot. Mm. Sex workers, not new. They didn't just magically appear with like Pornhub. Like that's not a thing. Sex workers were commonplace. They were seen as a legit profession in ancient Rome. They were a part of the census. Like, they'd go around and ask people what their profession was, and you could be like, "Hey, I'm a sex worker." They'd be like, "Cool." They were often hired for
When did it turn taboo?
uh that probably came along with like more of the Christian religion. That would have been what would have that's usually what
Mm.
changed a lot of these things. Um in 300 AD there was actually a Roman census that showed that there were at least 32,000 sex workers in the city. Like that's a lot. That's
Oh, wow.
condoms, preventative measures, safe sex, things like that. Not new. Granted, things like the materials are better now than they were before because science, but their effectiveness wasn't great. But the idea
Science?
was still there. So if you think about it, in the 17th century, they were often made out of linen. You're not gonna
Mm.
do a whole hell of a lot. Linen is not gonna do shit. It might catch some of the semen, but that's
Mhm.
probably about it. Like like it'll act like a cheesecloth. Um, but other than that, it's not gonna do much. But still the idea was there. Um,
No.
they've been made out of things like animal bladders, which in terms of effectiveness, a condom made out of an animal bladder is probably a better way to go than any other sort of like
Mm.
material, like a cloth like material, because a bladder is designed to be, waterproof, leak proof. People would use animal bladders as containers for water. So if you're going to make a condom out of something, an animal bladder is probably a great way to go. It'll create a barrier, and it'll probably help prevent against some STIs. It'll probably help prevent against some pregnancy if it's done right. I mean, I don't know how comfortable it would be, but
Hmm.
logistically speaking, it's probably not a terrible way to go. Fish skin and animal intestines were also used as materials for condoms. Again,
Interesting.
if you want to talk about a barrier, those are probably better materials than a lot of other things that they were being made out of. And lemons were actually used in the 1700s as diaphragms. So things like
Mm.
contraception were like, this isn't new. These things are not new ideas. They've been in practice for hundreds and in some cases thousands of years. So it's not like all of a sudden, people became woke and decided to buy condoms. That's not how that like
Mhm.
it's it's crazy because like if you talk to these right-wing idiots, like they just assume that all of this is brand new and oh my god, um during Georgian England, so about the 1700s, sex work was actually legal in London. They published guidebooks so that visitors could find the right sex worker for them. Say you liked things a little bit kinky and like
Mm.
getting beaten. Here's a list of sex workers for you and where you can find them. Do you like butt stuff? Here's some sex workers that like the butt stuff. Do you like role playing? Do you like whatever? These guidebooks would actually have, think of it as like almost like a porn hub, with the different categories. Same kind of thing. This is what you like. This is where
Like
you
a
can
phone
find it.
book.
Right. It's like
Mm.
this is In more recent history, the 1918 Sears catalog actually had vibrators in it. It was in the home, they were in the home appliance section. So, for those of you that don't know what a catalog is, back in the day, before there was the interwebs, you would get a giant book of every, sometimes it was, usually it was just every season. Because that's when
Every
fashions would
quarter,
change.
yeah.
Yeah. So you would get a catalog and you would go through this catalog and it would have everything from clothing to housewares, the newest gadgets, the most up-to-date vacuum cleaner, the most, the newest pressure cooker, whatever it is. And you could order from like the company. You look through and you're like, okay, I want this outfit. So you'd fill out the little thing and you'd send it. And a lot of times you could get things COD, which is cash on delivery.
For me, it
So
was the
you could
toys.
order it, they would ship it to you, and then you would
Not the
just pay
sex
the
toys,
post
the
person.
children's
You'd,
toys.
right. You'd pay the delivery person.
Mm.
And you could buy sex toys that way. You could buy vibrators that way. They were in the home appliance section. Like, eh. um, and I know that this is shocking, but it wasn't just Europeans and white folks that were having sex. Other people were doing it too. If you look at ancient texts from China, they reference things like the bitten peach and the cut sleeve, both of which were euphemisms for homosexuality. So again, the gays aren't new. We've been around a while. Like it's this is if you look at there's Japanese art, there's Chinese art that depict, you know, gay sex and lesbian sex and threesomes and group sex and all the things. I think everybody's heard about everybody's heard of the Kama Sutra, um, which is an ancient Sanskrit text that is about sexuality and sensuality, eroticism, and emotional fulfillment. It was written in about 400 BCE, so it's literally thousands of years old, and it is a literal handbook on everything from how to flirt, how to court someone, sexual positions, which is probably what it's most known for, and how and when to commit adultery. Like it will actually like it teaches you when and how to commit adultery so that everybody is fulfilled, as it were, and nobody gets hurt because that wasn't the goal. It was, and as this is a piece of American history that I'm not sure people know. Between 1702 and 1709, New York and New Jersey had a drag queen for a governor. No, really. Edward Hyde, who was the governor of New York and New Jersey at the time, was Queen Anne's cousin, and he was often seen in drag and even opened up a session of the New York Assembly dressed as Queen Anne, dressed as his cousin. So, yeah,
Hmm.
been around. We've been involved in politics. We have done all the things because none of this shit is new. None of it. And none of it is new. And yet people seem to think that it's like all of this is new and trendy. And it's like, no, none of it is new and trendy. It's all been around
Oh,
for
you've been doing this for almost, what, 20
right.
years?
Even right. Like I've been doing this for almost 20 years. And literally, like it still blows my mind that people act like anything to do with sex or kink or drag or whatever is this new thing, and it's not, like, not even a little bit. And it blows my mind that like people know so little about anything. But then we all know that Republicans are not keen on things like facts and proof and and things like that. So it's like
Or
it
science?
is what it is, right? Or science, no, god forbid. And I know that one of the things like gender affirming care isn't new either. Unfortunately, so much of that history was destroyed because of the Nazis in Germany that went through and basically destroyed an entire medical facility that had so much documentation, so much everything on gender affirming care, but it was wiped out. It was one of the first things that the Nazis did was wipe it out. And we lost so much information, we lost so much history, and it sucks. So now I have to keep, trying to build that shit back up again, and it's fucking stupid. So, yeah.
I am going to try to do the news.
Good luck.
We'll see how it goes. So Freddie had to step away for a minute. I'm gonna try to do the news, and if it works out, it will stay on. Then, and if you're listening on the podcast, the internet somehow does not like me and um, is going very slow and disconnecting me. So, um, in our category, we have Disney is one of the latest companies to roll back on DEI initiatives, which means this would affect events like Pride Night, Gay Days, but that's still not clear just yet. I find it very fascinating that folks are rolling back on DEI. Um, we were having those talks, and I wonder if this is going to come back as something else, or if like I don't know. Um, it just feels like we're going back in time, maybe? I don't know. Um, Pepsi has also decided to roll back on their DEI initiatives, while apparently Coke has doubled down on theirs. I was reading earlier, I would open another window and show you, but I'm afraid the internet will just dismantle itself and say that it does not want to work anymore. Um, but um, Coke has in their statement that they want to have more female leadership, women leaders in the in their C-suite by 2030. They had some other goals that they were chasing, and so um, good for them. Good for them. I I admire them. I Coke, nor do I drink Pepsi, but um, I encourage finding diversity is still a good thing. Um, I I really want to know what the real reason is that all these companies keep dismantling um, the the initiatives that were set forth by DEI. But
It feels like they're just rolling over for this fucking
administration.
administration, and I don't understand why. I really don't. Like, you realize that the administration is not the people that are like buying your products, right? Like the regular people are buying your products, and like we've already shown that like we can make a fucking difference. Look at the Tesla stock and the sales that are down all over the world.
Well, funny you should mention. I meant to put this on here. So I'm not sure if you've seen this around the social webs, but um, on the 28th, people that people I think it started with Al Sharpton, but I'm not sure. I'll check around. But there is to be a boycott of some sort of not shopping at major supply stores like Walmart,
Yeah.
Target. and other stores in supporting small businesses on February 28th,
So
to show
the
that,
the
you
the
know,
problem
the
with that,
dollar does.
however, is well, yes, but also the problem with that is because it's been so advertised,
Mhm.
companies can now they've been able to plan for it.
Oh,
So right. So the whole point of things like that is it's not you're not supposed to like have it this
tell everybody?
like this right. Like you're supposed to tell people, but it's not supposed to be this like, look, we're just gonna throw it all over the internet because then what can happen is the folks of these big companies can be like, okay, so we know that February 28th, we're probably going to experience lower sales. So what we're going to do is we're going to compensate, blah, 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 blah. So they can plan for it. So it's not going to hurt them. That's the problem.
Mm,
So because it's
mm,
been so advertised and because it's been so widely talked about, I'm not sure that that boycott is going to do what everybody thinks it's going to do because it's literally been all over the place.
mm. We
So
shall
there's
see.
that.
We shall
Mm.
see. Um, I say this is a different time, but starting to feel like I was not there historically, but, starting to feel like a different time that was once previously in the last 50 years. So I mm, I don't I don't even know what to think at this point. Like, anything gonna bother anybody, especially since, um, the US has now claimed that it's sided with Russia when it comes to the invasion of Ukraine. Um,
Oh, did they? It very much did. There was a United Nations vote, basically.
oh, ooh, which means that the US has sided with North Korea, Russia, Israel, Belarus. Is that how you say that?
Belarus.
Belarus?
Mhm.
And 11 others in refusing to condemn Russia's actions. Related to this, former VP Mike Pence called Trump out by essentially saying, "Hey, dumbass, literally, Russia invaded Ukraine."
Yeah.
But
The
they're
whole thing, like
besties.
they were
They're
trying to come up with like
besties.
some sort of like a withdrawal kind of thing at the UN
Oh,
General Assembly, and the US was like, okay, well, we can support that, but what the wording is not going to have anything like it's not going to say that Russia was in the wrong. It's not going to, it's whatever. And all these other countries like North Korea, like Israel, like all are we seeing a trend here? So they were all like, no, you're right, that's totally fine. And everybody else was like, what the fuck? No, they need to be held accountable because they literally invaded the Ukraine.
yeah.
It was unprovoked. It was anything. And even Mike Pence like wrote on Twitter and was like, hey, Russia literally invaded the Ukraine. You fucking dumbass. Like, ugh. It. I.
Mm, we in
The fact
trouble,
that we
girl.
are now like jumping on board, like publicly, vocally, and like we're not ashamed of this. Like we're just like, yeah, Russia, North Korea, them's our peeps.
Ugh,
I'm like, does anybody seeing like a
nobody?
new Axis power? Like we were part of the Allied power, like the Allies in World War II. We've switched sides. Now we're part of the Axis, and it's a little disconcerting.
Yikes. Ugh. In other news, let the fire burn. Mass layoffs are still continuing in the federal government. Dump truck that we were talking about has been quoted saying this country has gotten bloated and fat and disgusting. And to
I'm
you,
sorry.
the
Was he
same.
looking in the mirror? Was He was looking
I,
in the mirror and meant to say I, but instead of using I statements, he probably, oh, you know what? You know how when you use the royal we, like, oh, do we have a thing like, um, do we have a book that's ready to read, or do you have papers for me for us to, do we have this thing that's ready for us to do the thing, you use the royal
Oh,
we. He probably thinks, like,
collective.
when he's looking in the mirror, he thinks of himself as the country, so he uses this country as the royal we. So it is,
Oh,
instead of saying I have gotten fat and bloated and disgusting, he says this country, meaning himself, but as the royal we type of
oh,
thing.
oh. Well,
That's my
many saying
interpretation.
that he does see himself as the king of the United States.
He said he called himself the king. I was like, remember what happened the last time we had a king? Because it didn't end well.
I I could be mistaken, but I think people came over here because they were trying to escape a king. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yep.
Anyway, um, we continue on and we go into Iowa. Hundreds, if not thousands, protested in Iowa because a bill that is ending trans and non-binary civil rights protections, and the law came into place not that long ago. I think it was 2015, and so. We're just watching the unraveling of so many things, including the University of Cincinnati has put up new signs in its residential halls and some of its campus buildings because of a new law that limits bathroom use in the schools and colleges in Ohio, um, based on biological sex. And if you were listening to anything that Freddie said, ugh,
I'm gonna start using the women's restroom and see how well that goes. I really, I.
yeah.
It's so hard to not want to
That's so
poke the
scary for
bear
me
with
to
things like
think
this.
that, though.
Like, it's really really hard for me to not want to poke the bear, because, like, according to them, I should be using the women's restroom, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I'm gonna go into the women's restroom, and how long is it gonna take for somebody to call security and tell them there's a man in the women's restroom,
Mm.
and then I will prove to them that, I'm not a man and that I'm supposed
I'm
to be
still
here.
not understanding why there's so much effort to get rid of trans
I
and
don't
not
understand why they're so
non-binary
obsessed with
folk.
everybody else's genitals. Like, why are they so obsessed with my genitals? Like, I'm not even that obsessed with my genitals. Like, come on. Like, why are you so obsessed with what's in my pants? But it's like, I just want to poke that fucking bear, because I want him to be like, um, uh, you, you, and be like, so are you gonna arrest me because I'm a man in the women's restroom, or what? Because either way, you're gonna look like a dumbass, because now you've told me that this is the one that I'm supposed to be in, but all these women are gonna think you're fucking crazy.
Mhm.
But if you think this is where I'm supposed to be, then this is where I'm supposed to be. And I'm gonna keep using the women's restroom. What? No? Why don't you want wait, but why don't you want me using the women's oh, ooh, what are you gonna oh, is it because I'm a man? Is it because I'm a
Oh,
man? But I'm
it's
not a
because you
man,
have
or am
secrets in
I?
your pants.
Am I a man? Did you think I was a man? You thought I was a man, but I'm not a man, or am I? Like,
But we must remind people that the number
they're
one obsession with Republicans is trans people.
yep, not even trans people. It's just our genitals. They're just obsessed with our genitals.
No, I mean, like, on Pornhub. Wasn't that one of
Yeah.
our trivia questions?
Yep. Yep.
Mm, interesting.
Yep.
And this all officially takes place on Tuesday, but it seems that Ohio is ahead of the game. Um, speaking of people just unraveling things that don't need unraveling, lawmakers in 9 states are proposing measures against same sex marriage. And here's where we told you so
Mm.
months ago.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Months ago.
Oh, that'll never happen. They can't do that. Really? Because that's what they did with abortion. What makes you think that they're not going to do it with marriage equality?
Mhm.
Yeah. Mm.
This one includes, it was introduced in Michigan, I believe on Tuesday, to encourage the Supreme Court to overturn its decision, um, of the 2015 landmark ruling, uh, of the case. I don't even know how to say that last name. Obergefell? I don't know.
Overfell.
Yeah, versus Hodges, which granted same-sex couples the right to marry nationwide. So,
Mhm.
um, so the gays that were saying the T doesn't matter,
Mm. They
um,
don't
the
like you
gays
either.
the gays that were saying that, whatever, I support the T that you support is not supporting us. So, yeah. Mm. But groups like the ACLU and Human Rights Campaign have already said that they're not going down without a fight. And so um, I'm waiting to see how this goes. But yeah, it looks like none of us exist. And the straight way
They
is
don't wanna
how you
say "I
make
told you so," but I'm gonna
the
say "I
straight
told
way
you
is how
so."
you make America great again, I guess.
Mhm. Yep.
I guess.
Yep.
Um, in sad news, Um, the legendary singer, songwriter, and pianist, um, Roberta Flack, passed away at the age of 88. She was an emotive and gender blending queen known for songs like Killing Me Softly, The Closer I Get to You, and Where Is the Love. Her songs have been covered and redone by artists like Lauryn Hill, the late Luther Vandross, and more. Um, and it's amazing to me to watch people, like, re-listening, I guess. Not that she went out of style, because 'cause they're always using her songs for, like, samples
Mhm.
and things, but, it's interesting to see people relive or find interest, in the music, and, I did notice that some younger folks were like, "I didn't know that she was the original singer for this song," and I'm like, "Yeah, yeah."
Um, Not necessarily part of the Minority Report, but another sort of notable death today was Michelle Trachtenberg,
Oh,
um,
yeah.
who if, I never really watched anything that she was in. She was, Gossip Girl, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I never watched either of those.
But you
But she
watch
was one of
Harriet the
those faces.
Spy.
No.
You
Um,
never saw Harriet the Spy?
I didn't know. But she was always one of those people that like in the 90s seemed to be in like everything, it
Mhm.
was one of those faces that was in like all over the place. And she passed away today. She was only 39.
That's
um
interesting.
Apparently she had had a recent liver transplant and her body basically rejected the liver.
Oh,
um
no.
yeah, it was very unfortunate. I know a lot of people um who grew up in the 90s and watched Buffy and
Mhm.
stuff. I missed out on a lot of that because I wasn't here. So it was
Oh, so you watched a lot of Asian
I watched
shows?
British shows, actually, British and
Oh,
Australian.
okay.
But yeah, so a lot of those I didn't get to watch here.
Okay.
So yeah, but I know a lot of people are kind of in their feels about that one too, because it was like, oh shit, another sort of child
Yeah,
star of the 90s
yeah,
kind
and,
of,
like, it's
you know,
more closer to home because, like, she was a child on TV while I was a child, and
right.
so, like, when they're close in age, it's so, like,
Yeah.
mortality
So
slaps you in the face kinda thing.
yeah. Yeah, the fact that she wasn't even 40, like, that's like,
Yeah.
so
So,
that's another unfortunate loss
well,
that a lot of folks are kinda grieving today.
and I mean this in not in the way that politicians mean it, but thoughts and prayers to those people that, definitely, like, supported her through her career, her friends, and her family. But I was heartbroken too because I was like, like all the things that keep coming out about your childhood, and then seeing
Mhm.
that,
Mhm.
and she was a part of that. Um, in a world where I think that people have views, because I think this is what's happening here. Because NBC got a new president. I don't care to remember her name. I think it's Rebecca something.
I don't know.
Um, and a bunch of changes happened in this week, and NBC is like one of those news sources that hasn't really been too played with, if you know what I'm talking about. Like,
Mm,
there's some news places, Fox News, that I don't go to very often, if at all,
right.
because I'm like, is this right? Um,
Right.
but MDC was one of my like go-to places. Um, and it seems that Lester Holt will now be stepping down from NBC Nightly News. And I'm a big Lester Holt fan. Um, after being on uh, the Nightly News for a decade, I thought it was a
That's
little
it?
bit
I thought
long.
he's been on it longer than that.
I think he has, but I think as the main anchor, I think it's just that.
I'm gonna find out.
Will you look that up for me? Um,
Yes.
it probably has been longer, but I think because there was somebody else that was on NBC before.
Okay.
He is supposedly going to be working on a Dateline. Uh,
Dateline. He's been doing that forever.
I know,
So
but to
I
say
guess he
full,
was. Let's see. He was the NBC Nightly News weekend anchor from 2015, and then another weekend anchor from 2000. He did a whole bunch of stuff. So he's been.
here, there, everywhere. So he was never really the main one until,
He spent 19 years with CBS,
yeah.
which is crazy.
So
And
maybe I should have
then
said,
joined MSNBC in 2000, and then in 2003 assumed full-time duties at NBC News, where he became a
mhm.
substitute anchor for NBC Nightly News and Today. Full-time co-anchor. So it's been a while. It's been quite some time.
Well, I know
But
that he has decades spanning his career. I'm just saying on the network as the main anchor for the nightly news.
yeah.
Um, and I think um, it's interesting because, like, when you watch it digitally, you don't see the same thing as people that watch it on cable. But they were doing like you know how they do the anchor campaigns? They've been doing that
Mhm.
for a while. So I guess that was before she came in um, to hype like watching him on the news. So um, many cheers to him. Um, I can't wait to see what he does next. I know that he has had talks about uh, doing other things. So that uh, I don't know. I haven't even gone to see who's like gonna go sit up there now because
I don't
like
know.
you're a
I
fan.
hardly ever watch the news anymore just because I can't handle people's voices these days. I'm like,
Well, I can
ugh.
handle his.
Yes.
Um, him and Keith Morrison. This is
Yes.
a fan.
Because
This is a
Dateline.
household. Yeah.
Yeah.
um, and if you have not heard Keith Morrison read books, um, you're missing out. Anyway, other changes. There has been an outpouring support for Lester, and then there was is her name Joy or Joy Ann? I keep finding like different
I am not
versions.
sure.
So either Joy or Joy Ann. So there was a sudden uprising of like we choose joy, and I was like, what is this? And I didn't know that uh Joy had been let go from her MSNBC show.
No,
Um,
I'm seeing a trend here.
yeah, are you? Um,
Mm.
uh, her show was called The Readout, or yeah, Readout, because her name is Joy Reid, on NBC. She was the first Black woman to anchor a primetime cable news show. Um, and I didn't realize until I think I spent more time looking up her stuff than I did Lester's, but I didn't realize that this was so dominated by males, and then thereafter non people of color,
Oh,
white people
100%.
um,
100%. Like,
on
it
the
is, yeah.
television.
Oh, yeah.
I did not
Oh,
realize
yeah.
this.
Oh, yeah.
So, this has sparked now a debate on representation in media. And at Magic, um, Mia asked me a question um, that I think shocked me because I didn't really think about this answer. But she asked me, why is it important to have shows like Magic? And it's important to have shows like Magic. It's important to have like Lester Holt on the evening news. It's important to have Joy giving her commentary because it gives more than one side of the story.
Mhm.
It gives that young person, like there was nobody like me on TV. There was, I mean, podcasts were a thing. And if you listen to the closest thing you listen to of a podcast was like the talk radio. And I could tell you for sure, I didn't think anybody was sounding like me on the radio. And so, like, this does, because you remember George Floyd, everybody had promised that they were
Mhm.
going to put more people of color in shows. They were going to put
Well,
more
that's
people
that's
of color
why,
on
like,
TV.
that's why,
Hmm.
when Oprah was doing her thing, and when Oprah was, then that's why Oprah, Connie Chung, women of color, women of Asian descent, women of, that's why that, like, those were, it was a big deal to see a woman
Hmm.
on TV, especially in a role like that where it wasn't a caricature, it wasn't like you're playing a character of something, you weren't
And she
playing
wasn't
like,
having to be funny.
right, like you weren't, it was a woman of color, or a woman, an immigrant, or someone who came from immigrant parents, or whatever it was,
Mhm.
that wasn't, playing, a funny housekeeper, or the funny
Mm.
Asian grandma, or what I mean. It was like, it was legitimate newscasting with
Sometimes
people that
better.
you just, right, that you just never saw. It's still, I mean, look at the View. Even the View is like they have their
Mhm.
token people, it seems, because but it's that's, mm. So it's one of
But
those things
Whoopi's
where
my girl.
it's I well, yeah, I mean, but it's still a problem. It's been a problem, it's still a problem, it will continue to be a problem,
Mhm. And
especially
so,
now.
yeah, when you're watching the news, I know that it's not everything, but it means something to a higher percent of us than you may think. So, and people still um, say thank you to me, and I don't think I'm doing a big thing, but there are people that say, like, thank you for being around because, representation is everything. And I'm like thinking to myself, like, I didn't do nothing. I just woke up today. But
Representation matters, visibility matters.
yeah, so sorry, so much sad news, but these are the things that are happening, and I feel like we should talk about them. Chat got very quiet during the news, so and my connection got better. It seems.
Yeah, right at the end, of course. Yeah, that sounds about right.
What's next? So tomorrow I will be at Drink Me Tea Room for Drag Bingo. an Alice in Wonderland themed drag bingo. Um, Starts at 5:30. I believe there's a couple seats left if you want to grab those last minute seats. And then
Uh,
on
what
Friday,
doesn't have any seats left is
yeah.
Drag Bingo and Cats on Friday. So if you're hoping to get tickets, sorry, we told you weeks ago. But that has sold out. So I'm excited to go and do that. That's always a good time. And
Mhm.
then on March 21st will be the Tricks and Treats Dragon Burlesque show at Wild Wild West Con. I'm producing that. I've got some awesome folks coming down this year, some new faces that the con hasn't seen before. So I'm excited to bring that, and I'm excited to bring the numbers that I've got. I'm working on. Eventually, I need to get my music finished. Um,
Oh, do you need to add something on here?
um,
April 5th?
what's April?
Is it April 5th?
I
What'd
don't
you
know.
just
Oh,
ask me
but
to
this
do?
Sunday is the Mr. Arizona US of A MI Classic pageant happening at the Rock at 4 p.m. You can still register to compete. I believe registration starts at 2, so you can still show up and come compete. You have to be 33 or older and perform as a drag king.
That's it?
Um, you have to be AFAB.
Oh, I was about to
Uh,
say, I'm
No.
coming.
AFAB 33 or older performing as a drag king. It is I believe it's a regional, so you can be from anywhere and come and do the thing. So come do the thing.
You're
Um,
making me feel like I'm making things up.
I don't know. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Wait,
I don't know.
April 5th.
Oh, I was like, what are you talking about? Southwest Love Fest block party. I was like, what the fuck are you
I was
talking
like,
about? April
what?
5th? It's fine. Southwest Love Fest is a like poly convention that is happening here in Phoenix. The weekend of April 4th. The 5th is the sort of block party. So there's going to be vendors, a DJ, pop up drag performances, dancing, all sorts of fun stuff. So more details on that coming soon.
Oh, that's interesting that it made it 4/5.
Give you a fraction.
Interesting.
Hmm. Weird.
I don't do
Okay.
math. And then something new that we're trying, drag bingo at Shea Cheese.
Is it drag bingo and
Cheese.
cheese? Instead of drag bingo and cats, it's drag bingo and cheese.
Yeah, we like to experiment with different things here. So we'll have more details on that soon. And then on the 17th of April, we have sex trivia at Gracie's Tax Bar. It's free, and if you are a sexpert, I recommend that you come and bring your sexpertise, because it may not
Please,
be as
because we would love to make fun of
efficient.
you.
Yeah, it may not be as efficient as you might think it is, and yeah. Um, we have guests coming, including the one that's on the list that Freddie can see. I asked on Sunday, and they replied to me, I was waiting on you. And I was like, oh,
Oh,
well, damn.
okay. That's fine.
So, with that being said, I want to thank you for joining us for the conversation tonight. I didn't really have a conversation because I was trying to figure out why the internet wasn't working. And I
It's
still don't know
fine.
why. So I'll listen back to this episode and go, I was featured. Um, so thank you for watching live and watching on the replay. And thanks for downloading the episodes as a podcast, whether that's on Amazon, whether that's on Spotify. Why are you on Amazon? Uh, but you know, thanks for listening to us. Make sure you give us a good review on whatever platform you listen on. because then if you give us a good review, then that means that it shares the review. I think that's how, or it doesn't share the
Mhm.
review. It's because you amp us up. It says, oh, this must be something that people will listen to. So please do that. Um, and have a wonderful night. And we will see you next week for your Wednesday night conversation. Good
Good
night.
night.